January 18, 2015. Gillette Stadium, Foxborough, Massachusetts. Patriots destroy the Colts 45-7 in the AFC Championship Game. Brady stands on the field as confetti rains down from the stadium ceiling. He lifts the Lamar Hunt trophy high above his head, silver gleaming under the lights. Teammates rush in screaming, jumping, celebrating the massive victory. But beneath all this celebration, something strange is happening in the tunnels below. Colts equipment staff quietly approaches NFL officials with the Patriots game balls. The officials pull out pressure gauges and start checking them one by one. First ball, 11.5 psi. Second, 11.2 psi. Third, 10.9 psi. All under the 12.5 psi regulation minimum. The officials exchange worried glances and shake their heads. Something is very wrong here. Hours later at 1:55 a.m. Eastern Time, Indianapolis sports journalist Bob Kravitz drops a bombshell tweet that will change NFL history forever. Within minutes, it goes viral. By Monday morning, every major sports network is running the same damning headline. Tom Brady deflated footballs to cheat. And you believed it. Everyone did. The Patriots had history with cheating. 2007 Spygate. Bill Belichick illegally filming opponents' defensive signals. The NFL fined them $750,000 total and stripped their first-round draft pick. Commissioner Goodell personally destroyed all the video evidence before Congress could investigate. Proven cheaters caught again. Social media absolutely explodes with fury. Deflategate trends #1 worldwide. Sports talk radio floods with angry callers demanding Brady's head. ESPN analysts call him a cheater. Former quarterback Mark Brunell literally cries on camera talking about how betrayed he feels. Brady's entire Hall of Fame legacy is now questioned by millions. The NFL appoints Ted Wells, a powerhouse Manhattan attorney and former federal prosecutor with decades of experience, to lead the investigation. For months, Wells and his team interview dozens of people, review hundreds of text messages and emails, analyze every piece of available evidence. May 6, 2015. The Wells report drops, 243 pages concluding Brady was at least generally aware of a deflation scheme. 2 Patriots staff members are named as conspirators. The smoking gun evidence. Text messages where one staffer calls himself the deflator and texts, "Tom sucks. I'm going make that next bowl a balloon." The punishment comes down hard. Brady gets a 4-game suspension without pay. The Patriots are fined $1 million. They lose their 2016 first-round draft pick and 2017 fourth-round pick. Unprecedented punishment for this type of violation. Brady doesn't take it lying down. He takes the NFL to federal court in Manhattan. Judge Richard Berman hears the case and in September 2015 shocks everyone by vacating the suspension completely. Massive legal victory. But the NFL immediately appeals to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals. In April 2016, the appeals court reinstates the suspension 2-1. Brady serves the 4 games. Except there's one absolutely massive problem with this entire story. The science. Nobody bothered asking the most basic physics question. Does cold weather naturally deflate footballs? The answer is obviously yes. It's literally high school physics. But here's where it gets interesting. MIT professor John Leonard, a mechanical engineering expert with an ocean engineering PhD, decides to actually run the numbers. He applies the ideal gas law to the exact conditions of that AFC Championship game. The ideal gas law is fundamental physics. PV equals nRT. Pressure times volume equals molecules. Times the gas, constant times temperature. Here's what matters. When temperature drops, pressure drops automatically. No human intervention needed. The halftime measurements were taken inside a 71-degree locker room, but the game was played outside in 51-degree weather with rain. That's a 20-degree Fahrenheit temperature drop. Leonard does the calculation. A football inflated to 12.5 psi at 71-degree Fahrenheit will naturally drop to 11.32 psi when exposed to 51-degree Fahrenheit conditions. That's a 1.18 psi drop from temperature alone. No deflating, no cheating, just basic thermodynamics. The Patriots' balls at halftime measured between 10.5 and 11.5 psi. Exactly what the physics predicted. Leonard publishes his findings and presents them to the American Physical Society, one of the most prestigious scientific organizations in the world. But here's what the NFL completely buried from public view. The Colts' balls also measured below 12.5 psi at halftime. The NFL only had time to test 4 of them before halftime ended. Their measurements: 12.15, 12.30, 12.35, and 12.5 psi. Every single one dropping from the starting pressure, just like the Patriots' balls. And there's more. The NFL used 2 different pressure gauges at halftime that day. One gauge consistently read 0.3 to 0.4 psi lower than the other gauge. Referee Walt Anderson explicitly stated in his testimony that he used the gauge with the logo on it, the one that reads higher. But the Wells report simply rejected Anderson's testimony without explanation. Why? Because if Anderson is telling the truth about which gauge he used, then the entire mathematical case against Brady collapses. The numbers don't work anymore, so they just ignored the referee's sworn testimony. Professor Leonard isn't the only scientist calling this out. Dr. Roderick McKinnon, 2003 Nobel Prize winner in chemistry, professor at Rockefeller University, one of the world's most accomplished scientists, is so outraged by the Wells report that he writes a scathing letter to the New York Times editorial board calling it scientifically illiterate. McKinnon's devastating critique: the Wells report cherry-picks data points, completely ignores the ideal gas law, and fundamentally misunderstands measurement uncertainty. And he's not alone. 24 engineering and physics professors from universities nationwide sign an amicus brief supporting Brady. Their conclusion: although sensationalized in the press, the PSI readings were no surprise to any scientist. The American Enterprise Institute publishes a comprehensive statistical analysis finding no evidence of tampering whatsoever. The measurements are entirely consistent with natural environmental effects. So why did the NFL ignore all this overwhelming scientific evidence? Politics. The 2007 Spygate scandal had made the league look weak on Patriots' cheating allegations. Other team owners were demanding action. Look at the timeline. January 18th. The game is played. January 19th. The story breaks. January 23rd. The NFL announces a formal investigation. May 6th. Brady is suspended. By the time the Wells report was published, the NFL had already publicly committed to finding wrongdoing. They couldn't back down without massive embarrassment. Admitting it was just cold weather would make them look incompetent. Here's the paradox nobody wants to talk about. The NFL claimed deflated balls gave Brady an unfair competitive advantage, but look at what actually happened in that game. First half with the allegedly deflated balls. Patriots 17, Colts 7. The Patriots were already winning by 10 points. Second half after the officials reinflated all the balls, Patriots 28, Colts 0. The Patriots completely shut out the Colts. Brady's passing stats actually improved after the balls were reinflated. If deflated balls provided such a huge advantage, why did Brady play significantly better without them? The practical revelation: this wasn't about science or fairness. The NFL was protecting their public image, appeasing angry team owners, managing a PR nightmare. Pure political theater. They suspended Tom Brady, knowing the science didn't support it. What Deflategate actually cost Tom Brady? 4 games of the 2016 season he can never get back. $2 million in legal fees fighting a suspension based on junk science. Draft picks his team lost, including a first-rounder. A permanent asterisk on his legacy in millions of minds. Endless cheater accusations for the rest of his career and even after retirement. All because the NFL refused to admit one basic scientific fact: cold weather deflates footballs. The ideal gas law, known since 1834, taught in every high school physics class, ignored in 2015 because admitting it would embarrass the commissioner. Tom Brady went on to win 4 more Super Bowls after Deflategate. 7 championships total, the most in NFL history. Undisputed greatest quarterback of all time. But the stain remains because the NFL has never publicly admitted they were wrong. Next time someone calls Tom Brady a cheater because of Deflategate, remember this: MIT professors, Nobel Prize winners in chemistry, 24 physics and engineering professors, the American Enterprise Institute, all of them analyzed the data and reached the same conclusion. The ideal gas law proves what happened. Tom Brady did nothing wrong. The footballs deflated naturally due to temperature change. Physics doesn't lie. People do. This channel reveals the real stories behind sports legends and iconic moments. The truths that get buried under headlines and hot takes. The science that gets ignored when controversy sells better. Subscribe to see sports history the way it actually happened, not the way the media sold it to you for ratings and clicks.